Quick disclaimer here, I never played the original version of Elder Scrolls 4, so everything I say here is said with the remaster being my first experience with Elder Scrolls 4. When Bethesda showed the Elder Scrolls 6 reveal trailer way back at E3 RIP 2018, the world got stoked because Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim is widely regarded as not only as Bethesda's best game, but also one of the best games of all time. However, I feel like most people didn't know how long we would be waiting for this game, because as of writing on September 19th, 2025, the initial reveal trailer is still, 7 years later, the only thing we have seen on this game, for fuck's sake. So why look forward to Elder Scrolls 6 when we can look backwards to Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion? A very heavily rumored remaster of this game was making the rounds for a while, but Bethesda and Xbox officially revealed and shadow dropped this game in the same trailer on April 22nd, 2025. As someone who loves Skyrim and it being the only Elder Scrolls game I've ever played up to that point, I was very excited to jump into a new Elder Scrolls adventure with the added benefit, some modern visuals, and quality life improvements. And with it on Game Pass day one, I jumped in far later than everyone else, but by golly, I jumped in at some point. And now that my long adventure's concluded, it's time to give you my travel notes.
The Count always says that Leowin, Eye of Nocturnal. Take care.
The common folk. I heard that some of the provinces. Goodbye.
You heard anything from the other provinces?
There will not be tolerated.
The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remaster was co-developed by Virtuos and Bethesda Game Studios, published by Bethesda Softworks, and was released, like I said, on April 22nd, 2025 for PS5, Xbox Series consoles, and Windows PCs. I played it on PC through PC Game Pass, so all footage you are seeing is captured from that platform using OBS. I did attempt to play it on my Lenovo Legion Go, but when I went to boot it up for the first time, the machine straight up said something along the lines of like, hey, maybe this isn't the best idea. Which is a message I've never seen before, so every second of this game was played on my desktop. In Elder Scrolls 4, you play as a former prisoner who breaks out as the Emperor of Cyrodiil is trying to escape to safety. While trying to escape, the Emperor warns you of a great evil coming, and he tasks you with finding the heir to the throne and to save the land of Cyrodiil from the encroaching dark forces of the Daedra from the realm of Oblivion. As far as gameplay is concerned, if you played a Bethesda game before, you probably know what to expect here, as they definitely did not change that much. You go around speaking to people, discovering locations, pillaging everything you can carry, and then in terms of Elder Scrolls, swing your weapon semi-wildly in hopes you can take more punishment than your opponent. And I wouldn't say that is a bad thing, especially since this is, at its heart, a game from 2006. Whereas I truly believe it is time for Bethesda to take a big swing and try something at least semi-new in terms of gameplay, I will give them and Virtuos a pass for this game since it is a remaster of an older game. One thing I will say that did get a little old was the main storyline. I will not spoil anything at all in the story, but my main issue was that the quests within the main storyline felt very repetitive. Especially at one point, I think I spent several hours just traveling to all the cities and closing Oblivion gates for them. But it largely just felt like the majority of the story in the second half was being like an errand boy doing fetch quests, as well as repetitive tasks to progress through it. And I didn't specifically know what the ending was. I just knew that it was kind of a disappointing ending from a lot of people in the community. And after experiencing it for myself, I kind of have to agree. The nature of what the ending is and whatnot is not only like kind of brief, but it really made me feel like a bystander in the events and I didn't really play an active role in it. Which after playing and progressing through the story for so many hours, left me feeling rather empty and unsatisfied. But Bethesda RPGs are just as much about the side quests as they are the main story. Actually, I'd be willing to accept that they are more important than the main story. And Oblivion has a few well-known side quests, and I did a handful of them as I came across them for sure. I even googled some of the top ones and seeked those out. And personally, I feel like they aren't all that great. I will spoil the premise of probably the most well-known one, and that is the one where you jump into a painting. It's called like One Last Stroke or something like that. Or like the stroke of a brush, I can't remember. I was kind of disappointed with this quest, honestly. Like, it was kind of cool, but it was also rather short. And while in the painting, the visuals are adjusted to reflect as such. The colors are very vibrant, the styling looks all like paint, but there was also a filter over the screen that made it look like canvas, which is cool and all, but it honestly gave me eye strain a little bit, and I genuinely was not a fan of that filter. I also did the Dark Brotherhood storyline, and the ending of it was actually kind of cool. But the actual quests to get there, much like the main storyline, were very, very repetitive, especially just before things ramp up at the end. That sequence of quests was so long and repetitive that I genuinely had to Google if it just goes on forever or not. Which the Dark Brotherhood does kind of go on forever, but not at the part I was at. Same with the arena side quest as well. I mean, like, I get that that's just going to be repetitive by nature, but I definitely think that was like a little too long. Again, I spent like at least like an hour or two at least, just constantly like going to the arena, fighting my opponent, finding out the next opponent, repeat. And it was just took a long time. But other than that, there were really no memorable side quests that stuck out to me. Much like the locations, another part of Bethesda games is the map and exploration. I believe this is one place where the Fallout series shines incredibly bright. Just about every place in Fallout always piques my interest, as you never know what you may find there. However, in Oblivion, I felt a lot of the locations were borderline copy and pasted. Like even in Skyrim, every cave had a story to tell when you went inside it. The layout, the enemies in it, the reward at the end, and the notes you find along the way. With Oblivion, every cave or dungeon felt basically the exact same. The enemies may be different, but there was not really any variation to the layouts. None of the caves really had any interesting things in them. And I don't know if I missed something or every time or what, but they never really had like a reward for venturing through the whole cave. So like the point of the caves was just filler content. And I know I'm focusing a lot on the caves, but they're really just the perfect example of the general vibe I got from locations in this game. To the point where I was personally kind of discouraged from exploring because I felt like I would just walk into the same place over and over again. Really, the only location that I can remember being cool was Arkved's Tower. Other than that, I genuinely cannot remember a location that I was impressed by. And I know I've been basically just complaining about this game this entire time, but at the end of the day, this is a Bethesda RPG. It is, to me, a new Elder Scrolls experience. It is still inherently interesting and draws me in. The simple leveling system of just doing things to get better at them I really like, and it triggers something in my monkey brain that gets satisfaction from watching number go up. Although thanks to stupid level scaling, which I wish was removed for this remaster, it does make it hard to work on lesser skills you may have neglected for a bit. There's just something about Bethesda games that every single one I have played, except maybe Starfield, they just kind of have that X factor for me that keeps me coming back. Finding weapons from different races and materials, the potential to just stumble across something absolutely wild, like Arkved's Tower. And I found that tower just by walking around, no questline brought me there. And to me that is what Bethesda games are all about, the potential for adventure at every step. It's just a shame that it seems Oblivion doesn't fully fulfill this potential for me. Now make no mistake, I still had fun with this game. I wouldn't have titled the video what I did if I didn't, but let me put it to you this way. I have played through Skyrim multiple times with multiple different characters and genuinely finding something new every single time, sinking probably hundreds of hours into that game across all my playthroughs. But with Oblivion, I put about 50 hours into my playthrough before making this video, and although it was mostly fun 50 hours, at this point I feel like I have seen everything Cyrodiil has to offer a couple times over.